guys, welcome to today's episode of the Girl Get Visible podcast. Today, I am super, super excited because we have another guest, as you guys can see, and we are talking about support, which is one of the areas that both Marissa and I shall introduce herself in a moment, but one of the things that both of us really think is critical to being an entrepreneur. And when I say support and communities, as we'll dive a little bit deeper into, not just talking about a friend group, right? Not just talking about a good place to go and vent or good place to talk or get 50 billion ideas that we'll never implement, but really support getting the work done, right? Support with the ideas, the implementation, and all the things. And one of the things that I have seen with Marissa's Catalyst community that we'll talk about a little bit more overall is that they're actually getting work done. And so
Yeah.
I asked her to come on, which is important, right? I asked her to come on to dive into this conversation about how they support, the importance of the support, how you can get support, whether you're in community or somewhere else, but literally how we can together get the work done. Because you guys know we just had that an episode on procrastination and waiting, and this is literally the action part of doing that. But I'm really into just playing business as opposed to doing business, and doing business means doing some work, right? Or
Yep.
finding ways to get work done. And so
Yeah.
I wanted to bring you on, Marissa, to talk about that, to share with the audience, because I feel like you're the expert in that space. I know how to get support for me. I need to talk about how to get support for all my people, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted you to come on and really share. So first, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
And then, and then let's dive into the conversation. So tell us
You
a
know,
little bit about you and who you are.
we've known each other for like a bazillion years. So it's always like, oh, this is so exciting that we get to do this. I'm so excited. I you, first of
Yeah.
all. And I love all
And the
that you
matching hair color. I cannot.
and we have the matching hair color.
We're
And
redheads.
and we both love SEO like excessively. Like we probably both talk about it a little bit more than like normal, I will
Normal
say,
people.
people. So I really love all the stuff that you bring. And of course, SEO Assist is like fantastic. So my name is Marissa Loewen. I am a business strategist. I used to do the coaching thing, but I really did change when I saw that there was a big gap in how businesses were being supported. And I will talk a lot about like neurodivergent folks or disabled folks because they do have, or any kind of marginalized business owners, because they have their own set of obstacles. You talk about procrastination. There's something like people feel really guilty about procrastination, but there's actually like scientific reasons why we procrastinate, right?
Hmm.
And so what we looked at is kind of all the great ideas that were out in the world and why were they not getting to the implementation stage? And we thought, how can we do this better? How can we take what we know about coaching and support and strategy and even the doing part of it and create it in this really nice ecosystem where people can get all of that? So the Create the Rules Catalyst is really about, it's a done with you system. So what we mean by that is we take it from idea development to implementation. We are that support system through all series of it. So we'll help you craft, I've got an idea. Oh, perfect. Let's go through it. We'll hatch it out. We'll figure out a launch plan. We'll figure out what the tools you need, the operations that you need, the support systems that you need. Okay. And then we go out and say, okay, what's your market research? We'll help you do all that. Then you build the whatever that is, the product or the service. Now we have the actual, we're in the launch with you. So you have us as a resource. Now, you've got the pricing strategy, you've got your product mix, you're really anything that you can think of that goes into growing and scaling a business, we provide support on in a done with you manner, which means that we're right in there with you. And we have some folks that are just like, I just need to send this email, but I haven't. I'll just sign into their email. I'll be like, let's just do it. Let's just create the content. We do it, then they're done, right? And sometimes we build up this like huge expectation, like, what if I put it out there? Nobody likes it. Well, we create all these like stories in our head. I'm just like, hey, what if we just go put it out there? And if it like we get crickets, we try again.
Yes.
And that's the support system that we provide in there. And it really helps get people past things like imposter syndrome. I love imposter syndrome, by the way. It's how you are going to build a really great sales page if you have imposter syndrome. If you have imposter syndrome, you have an edge out of everybody else out there when you're building your sales page. But anyways, I digress.
We need to talk about that. We need to
We
go
will
back.
talk about that.
Not right
But
now.
yeah,
I'll make it put it
but yeah,
down.
I'll do that in a full separate thing, is like, how do you take your imposter syndrome and turn it into your secret weapon as your sales page? But it is those kind of things like the analysis paralysis, the procrastination. We just help people get over that step and get through it so that they can keep moving on. So we aren't like a full service like VA, like we don't do all the things, but we help you get to that next step. And I think that has been a really big gap in the business support system. I'm actually doing a project right now where I'm in a business. I'm physically in a business. They have a brick and mortar store, and I'm in there and I'm helping them also get to the next step and what they need to do. So we're seeing how we can do it virtually and in person. And it's been really interesting just to see how when people have that support system, they know that they've got a place that they can go to and have someone that they can connect with and that knows their business really intimately, knows them, knows their audience. They can get things done faster. That was a really long intro.
No, it's okay. No, this is everything I wanted everybody to know. But I love that. And I love the helping you get to the next step. I love the even working in your business, as a community. One of my things I know I've always wondered, and I'm sure somebody else is wondering, like, how do you manage it all? Like, how do you, if you're not doing it as a, kind of per diem, kind of I work in your business staff kind of roles or something like that, how do you manage the support for those who are like, this might be too good to get to be true a little bit?
So everything is really virtual. So we actually have a platform called Go Brunch, and it is so you come in with like a little avatar, you sit at a table, and it varies throughout the day, which I actually love. I love the impromptu aspect of it. So people will come in, we have a what we call moderated co-working times, and people can ask anything. They'll be like, hey, I have a website that I'm working on. Can you take a look at it? Or I've got some copy. I'm missing something. I'm missing the hook. Can we go through that? I need a title. It really depends. SEO. Can we look up some SEO keywords? It varies from day to day. Now, here's the thing. Support has long been monetized, but commodity, I'm like, whatever that word is, the combination of those
Mhm.
into hourly rates. So it's like, I'm going to spend a 60-minute coaching session with you, and this is what I'm buying. And the reality is that many people don't need 60 minutes to get something done. They need 5 to 10, 15 minutes. And so what we do is we get really good at finding what the actual thing is that you need to do to get to the next step. And we help you with that. And so we've basically sped up coaching, we've sped up mentoring, and we have been, because we know somebody's business so intimately, we kind of sidetrack a lot of that kind of background information and we get to what we actually need to do. I'll say it's a method that we have created on how we can support 7 to 14 people in a room at the same time and give a one-to-one. We're not always in a big room. Sometimes we go into a private room and we're working with people one-to-one that way. We also have a expert. So our members, after 6 months of being a member, can be eligible to run moderated co-working sessions of their own. So we have co-writing, we have branding. We're going to be having VA, like a more of like a VA design person that's just in there to help you get something made. We have SEO sessions. So basically you go in and it's like you can ask anything, you get the help you need. You might stay in there and do some co-working and working on it with the expert in the room so you can come back and get checking on it, your progress. Some people go away and they come back the next day or a couple days later. It's really about knowing how the support that you need, and then we create the accessibility to match that. So that's the other thing that we are really keen on is what are the tools you're using? How do you like to make things? How do you like to create things? And we work with people in those tools. So you don't have a cookie cutter approach. You don't have to come use our tools. You don't have to come use our systems. We really help you develop the systems and automations and processes that work for you and your business.
I absolutely love that. I love the concept, the model. One of the things you said, like not the cookie cutter, and I know you talked a little bit about neurodiversion and stuff like that. Let's
Mhm.
talk about that. How important is it for people when they're finding a community not to just jump into what might be the most popular communities? And I'm not saying that they're bad, but sometimes they're not as great for that person's personal, either their business or their personal work style or anything else that's going on in their life. So how important is that for people to look for that community that works for them?
I think you and I have been in big groups, the popular groups, and it is interesting to see how often the leader will have one set way of doing it. And if you ask to have any kind of accessibility or have it tweaked to fit you, you'll be met with like, no, you have to do it this way. This is the way that works. If you're not doing it this way, you're not going to succeed. And we know that's not true in business. We know that there's many ways to get to the finish line or get to our goals. So what I find is a lot of times big groups, people will either homogenized. So they become like, they try to do what everybody else is doing. And then when it doesn't work for them, they think it's their fault or that they just can't hack it. And that's how we lose a lot of business owners and lots of great ideas in the world. And it breaks my heart to think about all the great ideas I've heard over the years in these big groups that never went anywhere because people tried to just do what everybody else was doing and couldn't quite figure out. And the person wasn't skilled, the person leading it wasn't skilled in knowing how to adapt it for different minds, different niches, different industries. And that's really something. So when you are choosing a group, if you know that this method, it's like, okay, I'm going to grow my YouTube channel and I know that I want to grow at this method and this is what works for me, fine, join that program. But what you might find is that halfway through, you're like, this isn't connecting and this isn't working, or I can't digest the information, or I'm not quite figuring it out, or I'm just not doing the work. There's a reason behind that. And sometimes the DIY, the courses, even these group programs,
Mm.
it isn't inclusive. It is too kind of one size fits all. And that can be really hard for folks who do need that accessibility. So what I would say is, anybody, if you're looking for a community, really know in your heart and don't try to just fit in. Don't try to be everything. Oh my God, I've joined the glamorous coaching, the, $30,000 a year. We traveled around the world. People were getting photos in front of the Eiffel Tower. Everyone knows now what I'm talking about. And honestly, I was out there, we formed a really great, strong community of folks in there where we're like, this is not for us. Like, we don't want to be like this. What are we doing with ourselves? And then really listening to what we did want to do and adapting and creating our own community out of that. You mentioned one thing too that I think is really important. Some people are like, oh, I've got this group of besties, or, I've got these business owners. You really have to be careful about who you're working with too, because sometimes some people are farther along than you are, and you can really be impacted negatively because they're in a different route than you. They might be in a different niche or a different industry or just a different stage of their business, and you can sabotage yourself because you're not there yet. You can get really overwhelmed very easily because you're trying to learn all these things. The other side of it is, you could just be with a group of besties that just don't actually get what you're doing, and you're not exactly truthful with them because you want to show that you're successful and that you belong there. And that's one thing that we really strive in the Catalyst, is to say, like, you are where you are. There is no shame, no judgment. We will meet you where you are and help you get to that next step, whatever that next step looks like for you. There isn't a set path for everyone. And we really want to help people learn how to ask for help and be really truthful. Like, if you got to launch with no crickets, tell us, because we can actually fix it. The longer you wait with it, or you kind of, fluff over it, we're not going to get the real truth. We're not going to be able to help you. And that there's a lot of layers of trauma that can happen over years, especially if you've been in a lot of these Facebook group communities where everybody has to look perfect all the time. And you and I've had this like conversation before too. It gets exhausting. Guess what? Business, sometimes it sucks. I've been doing this we started our event company. We have a pop-up company in 2012. And I'm going to tell you, we still have parts where we're like, what the heck? We've been doing this exact same model for 14 years. No, 12 years. We're at 24, 12 years. And we're just still like, oh, that sucked. Like, it's going to happen. And if you don't have the space to be able to celebrate your really great highs and to also recognize and work on the lows, it's really going to halt you in business. And I think that's a huge gap that we don't always talk about.
Yeah, and I love that you brought up a couple of things. I'm like taking notes and
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
like, we
Sorry.
should ask you about that.
Cut me off,
Um,
Gwen. I just
but
get on it.
no, I love that a couple of things that you said that really wanted to drill into, because I'm almost sure we've known each other so long. I don't remember what program we met in, but I'm almost
I don't
sure it's
remember.
one that there's a thing, like a little saying, that you go in as whatever you came in as and you come out a coach. Right?
Was it maybe? Was it B school?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Ooh, that's and actually, you know what? That program is seeing what happened during like the George Floyd, during COVID, seeing what happened during that is actually why I created the Catalyst. And I will say that 100%. I'm not her biggest fan. But seeing what happened in that community where people wanted to talk about things that were happening in their business that was impacting them, like, and then being shunned for it, like, it's
Hmm.
like, like there was like Black women there that are talking about, how do I run a business? How do I grow and scale my business right now when these are the factors that are happening in the world that impact me? And they're like, this isn't about business. I'm like, how is it not about business? Like,
Yes.
this is literally stopping them from growing. And like, just because you don't have that one marginalization doesn't mean that you can't be there and supporting that person and helping them be there. And seeing that in that group, was actually the start of the catalyst, because I was like, we have to do better. We need to
I
see
love
people
that.
as whole people, and that there are so many different kinds of inequities and marginalizations that impact our success. And just saying, show up, you just show up or create more content, it's going to work. Well, we
Never
know from
works.
SEO that's not going to work. You can create 1,000 articles and it's not going to get you shown if you don't do it right. Like, it's like, that's the thing.
And funny how we tying that in. So not only if you don't do it right, but if you don't listen to the audience, because the audience
Yes,
is already searching and they're looking for something specific. And if you just put out what you want and not listen to what they're looking for, you're never going to meet in the middle and get found. Um,
exactly.
but
Exactly.
but yeah, but that program, like I said, the jokey joke, and we were in it years before any of all this. So, you learn as you're there.
Yeah.
But one of the jokey jokes was you come in whatever you were. Like I know I started as a web designer when I first joined. I was trying to grow
Yeah.
my
I was
design
an
business.
event planner.
Yeah. And then you come out a coach. You come out
Yeah.
coaching somebody.
I learned about coaching from there. Yep.
Yes. And then not because that's the only thing you wanted to do, but it's because that's the thing that was there to do. And it didn't seem like there were options. So I love that in your communities that there are options. There's space
Oh, yeah.
for people in different types of, industries, niches, whatever they want to
We
do,
have
what their
pottery
goal.
makers, we have witches, we have, you name, like, you name it, there's an industry
Mm.
represented. And we do come at it both. Like I said, there's a product and service side of it. We just adapt to what you want to do. And some people are local business focused, some people are digital business focused. All of those have a very distinct way to approach and develop, especially from an SEO standpoint. And we come and meet them where they are, so
Yeah.
that they don't have to all. In fact, I'd be like, encourage people, don't become a coach. Keep on your good idea. You can do it. Like, that's probably my biggest thing, is like, I'm just like, really? Do you want to become a coach? I don't think you do. Like, you
Yeah.
got a really
And
great
trying
idea.
out different business models. I think it helps. Like I remember from from service, I've done service one-on-one, I've done coaching, I've done group coaching, I did membership, which I really love memberships. So I'm still
Yeah.
that's my sweet spot. And then now I'm doing SaaS, right?
Yeah.
And so going through all of those, I'm always telling people, and along I've done digital products, KDP, like all the things. But
Hmm.
I like the ability, I like being in a community with different types of people, but also the ability to find someone who's doing your specific thing. So like when
Hmm.
I landed on where I was for a while was memberships. And so I was in a membership group, membership mastermind, but partially because everywhere else I went, people were almost laughing at and shunning. You don't need a membership. No one wants to do all that work." And I'm like, well, I don't like having these high dollar coaching. I don't want to do all that work. So understanding what you like, and I love how you help people to bring that out. What are some maybe steps for somebody before they even join a community? What are some steps you'd maybe suggest of starting to hone in on what you like before bringing you to someplace else and getting
Yeah.
change?
I mean, I think there's, especially in our community, like, you have to be willing to show up for yourself, and you have to be willing to show up for your business. And there are people who are just so distracted by all the things that they've got going on in their life, and they won't show up in the room. And then, is our community the best thing for them? No, because they have a whole time schedule that is independent of kind of showing up and being in the room. We've had people where they really need a done for you model. And that can be a struggle for folks if they don't have the income to hire someone to do that done for you. And sometimes they'll come in and we just know that it's not going to be for them either, because we really want to work with people. We want them to help them build the skills that they know. They might eventually hire someone to do that for them, but we want them to know what's going on in their business, and so that they have at least an overview of how things work and how businesses operate, so that they have the ability to do proper budgeting and fund. So, part of it is knowing how you work best and knowing the support that you need in it. Before you join any community, you also want to think about your role in that community. And we talk about this a lot, because some people will say, oh, I haven't really been able to talk a lot in the rooms. I just show up and I sit there. And I'm like, that's an important community member. Because when you walk into a virtual room and you see somebody else in there, you're immediately like, oh, I'm not alone. And even if you never talk to that person, you feel like you're a part of something in there. And so I always talk about, that's a great role too. You don't always have to be contributing in a, what we say, like a verbal or a productive manner, but know those roles that you want to take on. Do you want to be a leader? I mean, we definitely look in the Catalyst for a very healthy component of B2B folks, because we want them to take over the moderated co-working spots
Mhm.
as we grow. We want to add more rooms. We want to have more, like, we want people to come in and say, oh, am I going to be in the SEO room today, or am I going to be in the co-writing room today? And we need members to do that. So, if that's your part of your role and you know that you want to be that in that community, that's a good way of developing that. I think we have a lot of folks right now who are trying to build their own thing everywhere instead of being that collaboration role. So you have to go, okay, actually, no, I'm in a collaboration role. I want to be a part of something else. I was talking to somebody today who is in more of like a VA or an OBM role. And, one of the things I said is like, I'd really love if you came into the community and be that person for us and like find your clients here. And that's something that isn't talked a lot about in communities. You're not supposed to go find clients in that group. You're not supposed to, because it's shunned and taboo. Whereas we're looking at, okay, we want collaborators. So if you're a collaborator, find the community. I have been in communities where if I have tried to help somebody or I have tried to provide resources or anything like that, I get kicked out.
Mm,
And it's like, wait, what? So only you can answer a question? But what if you don't know the answer? And that becomes dangerous in these kind of communities where we are expecting one person to know all the answers to everything in business. I don't even do, like, even if I'm trying to be accessible, if they want to do something and I don't know how to do it, I have no business helping them do it. I will go find the person who does and connect them so that they have that. I don't need this to be a one size fits all. I mean, we do provide a lot of different services across it, but if I'm not the expert of it, I'm confident in my own self to be saying, I'm not the expert, but I do know who the expert is, and let's get you connected with that. Because in some of these communities, you're not allowed to do that. And it becomes a very dangerous model of building businesses when we have this exclusivity or this restriction on it. And I think that's important for somebody to know. If you're not that kind of person and you love collaboration, you love connecting with other people, don't get into those communities. I think those are really important things. And then knowing where your stage of your business is. Are you ready for growth? How do you know you're ready for growth? How do you know you're ready for scale? And
mhm.
growth and scale are very different things. I think that's something that's not talked about a lot too. So growth is where you might be adding more things like capital, you might be adding more products, you might be adding more people, you might be expanding a location, you're growing it, but you're actually spending money on it. Scaling is where you have a repeatable, you know that this can make money at this, and you're now scaling it into larger capacity. We talk about scaling one-to-one right now, and a lot of people aren't doing that because they feel like they can't, but they can. And part of those things are like, do you know that you're ready for that? Is that community focused on growth? Is that community focused on beginners? Is that community focused on a medium or an expert business level? Some people will try to jump, they're in the beginning stage and they try to jump to the experts so that they get more information faster, but then they end up again getting that overwhelm, or they get left behind in the group because nobody wants to be spending time educating them to
Yes.
get them up to speed in that. And so I hope that answers that question, but
No,
there's
it absolutely does.
well,
And so much, great information around there. And one of the things you touched a little bit on, and I know I've even felt this way, I even tried to join a community to help this, but it did not work, is if you're at a certain level, and especially if you do want to get some clients or stuff like that from joining a community, that is definitely a benefit, even if that's not the only goal. But if you're at a certain level, and how do you deal with people who feel like they can't come for help and support because they don't want to be seen as needing help and support? Like, I don't want to talk about, if I'm a six-figure coach, I don't want to come in and say, it's been a rough year. I might be less half of what I usually am used to. And now I'm the one that needs support. How do you say, or how do you support or help an entrepreneur who may be at a level, but still have some pitfalls and they're afraid to join communities because they don't want people to see them as not being at that level that they are. They don't want to almost be brought down to like the newbie, although they might have
yeah,
some newbie problems.
yeah. Okay, so humility is hard to teach, right? It's something that we have to I would say we're definitely looking for people who know that they need support in their business because they're missing some stuff. And the thing is, it doesn't matter. I've been in business for 12 years. I started my first business in grade 6. Okay. So honestly, you always need help at every stage of your business. Even if you're at a CEO, even if you were a 10, 12 figure business owner, which nobody is on these Facebook streets, but they'll claim they are, but they still
12
need
figures
help
are
and
working.
support. 12 figures are now the new, probably 16 figures is probably the new thing. If you're not a 16 figure business owner, are you even running a business? Yeah. I mean, we hear about all these like crazy stuff, but honestly, that kind of stuff, if you don't know that you don't need, or if you don't know that you need help in your business, you've got a lot more issues in there that than we can probably even help you with, and we won't help people with that. And that's one thing we need people to recognize. But learning how to ask for help is a whole skill. And everybody will be working on that skill for their entire life. And not just in business. That is a personal skill, that's a relationship skill. You're in a partnership, you have friends. Learning how to ask for help is something we are continually working on, because as we meet more people, as we meet different boundaries, as we work on different aspects of our own personal life, asking for help changes. The ability to ask for help and hear a no and not feel like you can't get help is a whole thing. Okay. The ability to ask for help and not feel like you are embarrassed for asking for help is a whole thing. And we do help people with that. They come in different levels. There's often a lot of like trauma levels that we run up against in the Catalyst, where people have asked for help for ages. And then now when we say, yeah, we can help you, it's hard for them. We do work with them on that. It is on everybody's timeline. We don't rush people through to that next step. We are very cognizant of any kind if somebody is experiencing the feeling of overwhelm, or they're just feeling very verklempt, we're like, please let us know. We don't want to keep pushing ahead, and we're happy to come visit it tomorrow, or like go have a nap, have some water, take a deep breath. There's lots of things that we do, and the Catalyst has a lot of like workshops in there too. Like we have a vagus nerve workshop happening where people are going to learn a simple trick to access their vagus nerve to get instant calm through the holiday season. We factor in a lot of that. We had somatic movement a couple weeks ago. We have the experts in the Catalyst that are trained in this, and they offer workshops on that all the time. So I think all of it is a continual process, but you have to be willing. You have to be willing to be honest with yourself. And it's the greatest gift we can give ourselves to know, I still need help. I need help every day. If I didn't have the support systems I have in my life, there's no way I could do what I do in the world. And I think being able to give yourself that gift of being like, what do you think about this? Even if you have the whole idea figured out, giving it to someone else to be like, what do you think of this idea, is so amazing, because they're going to come at it from their perspective or their learned experience, and they're going to give you something that you didn't have before. And if we're not giving ourselves that gift, oh, what's the point? What's the point? Like, this is
What's
just
the
the
point of all
greatest
this?
part. It's the greatest part of being alive, is being in community with other people and getting that support, however it looks, and how sometimes the littlest help is actually the biggest help. And if we don't get into the habit of recognizing that, and recognizing when we need it and when we receive it, because that's a whole other skill, is knowing when we're receiving support. Like, this is what life is about. This is it.
Love
This is
that.
it.
I love that. And I love your excitement about that, right? So hopefully if you guys see the video, and there's a lot of people are going to be listening, but when you see the video, you've just got to see how Marissa's face just lights up as we are talking about this and talking about supporting others. So I love that. I want to talk about some of the controversial questions. So everybody
Yes.
knows here on the show that I use SEO Assist to pull out questions that you guys are all asking. And one of those questions that came up, which I know is like the, not say downside, but I know the worry side of joining a community of any type and getting help, is intellectual property.
Yep.
Because you're sharing ideas, because you're sharing your next steps, because you have so many people, what do you say to someone who's afraid that if I share my idea, someone's going to steal it? Or if I, share a document, someone's going to take my intellectual property? How do you combat that in a community?
Yeah. So, I mean, part of it is our culture and our community. And as we grow, we're pretty picky about the folks that we have in, and we do put a lot of safeguard. And we also say, like, be careful. We do a lot of like education around, be careful that you might have adopted somebody else's idea because you heard it in conversation. Is that really an idea for you? How does it look like in your business? What would it look like if you actually applied it in your business? So we do a lot of coaching around that. But I will say to people, if you have a good idea and you think it's like so juicy and you want to develop it, let's head into a private room. And so we do offer that. So not everything is done around the table. I am a big fan of not telling anyone until like you've got it really fully figured out, and then exploding it onto the world. And there's a good opportunity to do that in some cases when you have a really great idea. But I will also say, like, protect yourself. Always have legal counsel on hand. Absolutely protect your IP. There's that saying, like, there's no new ideas, but there's definitely different takes on ideas. And I think that there is a great opportunity for people to become the expert in those categories, in those ideas. And so what we want to do is we want to build that up. But we are very like, if somebody came in and was like, I have this great idea, and I just heard it like yesterday from someone else, I'll be like, were you in the room when that happened? They're like, wait a sec, what? I'm like, did you maybe have that come over? But we also have built a culture where people are so happy. If I work on something, people are always like, I think I'm stealing your idea. I'm like, I think this is great. Like, you take everything, because I also love that there is so much room in the world to build separate audiences. I can't serve everybody. If somebody else wants to go, they come in my program and they're like, oh my gosh, I love the Done With You style. They go by Go Brunch, and I will help them set it up. You want my exact same audience? Go for it. So there's always knowing your own boundaries and your own, and then plan for it. Absolutely protect your stuff. And like I said, I cannot say enough, get your own legal counsel. Definitely protect this stuff. Trademark where possible. Absolutely protect your IP.
I love that. And I love that you guys have safeguards, but also, and you're training from both sides, which is something no one ever, I swear I've never heard the answer like that. So I appreciate it. No one ever says we do training on how not to get over influenced by
Yeah.
someone else's idea. Most people are like, some of the standards, protect your property, share what you want, blah, blah, blah. No one ever says, be careful what you pick up when people are sharing, right? Be
Yeah,
careful
because
how
not
you
all
pick up
ideas are
what
for
people are
you. We
sharing.
look at Yeah, we look at ideas as pants. So you go into the store and you see this wall of jeans and you're like, okay, which pair of pants is for me? And you're gonna try on a couple, and you go into the change room. Some are gonna be an immediate no. You're gonna be like, I can't even get the stuff over my butt. Like, what is it? What am I doing with my life? And then some are gonna be like, okay, this is okay. So you walk around, you maybe sit down, maybe do a squat, and you're like, actually, this is gonna work. So then you take it home. Then you're going to wear it around the house for a couple days. Then you realize, oh my gosh, I got like some sort of gap happening at the back. So then we take it to the tailor and then we actually make it fit you. But you know what? You could wear it for 2 weeks and then decide it's not for you. Well, then take it back as that idea is for someone else. And so, what the things that we focus on is, how do you know when an idea is for you? How do you know when you have the capacity to take on that idea? How do you know when it will be finished? What kind of goals or what kind of deadlines do you need to set for yourself? What kind of accountability do you need? And we go through that with everybody, and then we help them set up that support system. If we're the accountability, we've got accountabilities on Mondays and Fridays. You come in and we keep you accountable. And we say, like, what do you need for accountable? Do you just need to declare it? Do you need us to check in on you every day? Do you need us to send you messages? We will. And part of that is knowing your own needs from that. And so that's how we help people create the ideas that actually work for them. They can get to the finish line and then put out into the world.
I love that. I might need to join just for that because I swear I have an idea in
Should,
me.
should.
Especially since I started working on SaaS. Every other week, I've got a new SaaS idea, and I have to really bring myself back in. Like, you do not have time to build another new software platform. But I
Right.
love that, helping you work through when and do you have the capacity. That is beautiful.
We'll even
Another
help you create the
question.
goals. Wait, I will tell you this. We'll help you create the goals so that when you know that you reach this point in this project, then you can start another one. And
Go on
then
to
we
the
help you
next
keep
one.
track on that, because that's important too. Some of those ideas are so good, we do not want to let them go. But let's set up this idea to run and fund it so that we have the research and development to properly put the other idea into place.
I can't tell you how much I love that. You see me in there with my 5 ideas. Just know that
I
this is
know we're gonna be
why.
like, wait, we're only gonna work on this one right now, but we keep track, and we keep track of people's ideas too. So if they come with us, we're saying now's not the right time. We keep track of it. We might work out a whole plan for it, and then we shelve it because then we know the resources we need from the other business or the other idea in order to get that one started. So we keep track of it for people.
Love that. So another question, a little bit on the controversial side,
Yeah.
is how do you deal with, or let me read exactly what it says. Can
Yeah.
support communities inadvertently create a sense of exclusivity and elitism? So how do you deal with people who are like, I don't want to be in an elite community. I don't want to be in an elite thing. And I'll tell you, I'm also thinking of this when I read this question. I was thinking about it like, I'm in a sorority. Everybody here knows that, right?
Yeah.
And we get sometimes like, oh, you guys think you're better than, oh, because you're, in a sorority. I don't want to be one of those girls who are in this kind of thing. How do you combat that when people are joining community? Or what do you say to somebody who feels that way?
Yeah, I mean, look, I actually think intentional exclusivity is a great thing. I think sometimes we have gotten to the point where we're just trying to like let everybody in, and then we lose the plot, right? And can become really hard for business owners to, and this is a really great audience, like, niching is when you're trying to be there for everybody, it can be really hard to be really good at the people you really like, to be really good and develop the set of core services or products that group needs when you're trying to be for everybody. So I actually really love intentional exclusivity just for creating fantastic experiences. Now, when we talk about people who don't want to be part of exclusive, then don't. Like, just don't. Like, you can, if you are a like you want to be around everybody in the general public, then go for it. We definitely, I mean, our price point is very accessible. When you think of, we just raised our prices, but when you think of like 4,500 a year for unlimited one-to-one and community-led support for 12 whole months, people will look at us and go, you're not exclusive. But we are, in that we are looking for people who really, for one, they're impact driven. So they're looking for ways to create impact in the world or change in the world outside of themselves and their business, and they're using their business to create that change. We're also looking for people who kind of belong, like love that. If you ever worked in a company and like somebody reheated fish in the company microwave and then everybody had to smell it for the rest of the afternoon. So we say we don't heat fish in the company microwave. If you're doing something that impacts someone else in a negative way, you come to the table and you say, okay, I hear that. And here's some things that I can do to help make your experience. So the exclusivity we're looking for are people who want to be in community with others, and they want to create a certain culture. And we do have a weird culture because we're very open. We talk about non-business things. We are very supportive. We are non-judgmental. If somebody's having a whole meltdown, we basically say, what do you need us to listen, or do you need us to have action steps after? And they can change their mind halfway through. And these are things that this don't happen anywhere else. So we are exclusive in that you have to be willing to do that. If you came to the table and you say supported a certain president that you're going to be uncomfortable at that table because we're openly talking about politics from around the world. And if you are so set in that belief system that you had your team and only your team, well, you're not going to enjoy it. And we don't need you to be there. We will happily refund you. And so part of that is knowing your own values and your own belief systems. And whether you realize it or not, you're probably already creating exclusive communities that you want to be in, whether you knew it or not. If you think it's elite, like, first of all, I hate classism. Anybody know I hate hierarchy. Even in my community, I'm not the lead. I am at the table also receiving just as much support as other people. I pay my own annual membership to be in there. And that's something that is really important to me because I am just a part of that community, just as everybody else. So, when you start looking at that, if things like hierarchy and classism really bother you, go find the communities that take away some of that, because there might be something in there. So it's like, I don't want to be part of an elite community. Then don't. Go find something that actually aligns to what makes you feel good. Being somewhere you don't want to be is the worst ever. And it's going to trickle into other things in your life, not just your business.
I absolutely love that. And I love the idea that, and I also agree. I'm personally not opposed to a little bit of elitism, but I
Yeah.
also feel like everyone has a area and everyone has a group. Similar to what you were just saying, like even in Greek life, we have something called GDIs, which are people who aren't in Greek life. So that in itself is a group. So the not
Yeah.
being in is a group of not being in. And I think it's cool. I think some people, we have the Divine Nine, everybody picks an organization. Those who don't, you pick non-organizations. Some people aren't even in the Divine Nine. They pick other Greek letter organizations. So it's like everyone's got a group, even those who don't want a group have a group. So
Yeah, and in Greek life, you've just said, like, here's a group of people who we want to abide by these certain like actions. We want to be part of this kind of activities. We want to live our life by these kind of principles. We want to show up for each other. Like, that's all that is. And is it elite, or is it just a community of people who believe in similar things coming together, sharing their separate experiences, and then building a community together? I don't think that's wrong, but I am very pro community. So I might be coming at
we're
it from a
community
different.
builders. I mean, I just told you, I
Yeah.
love memberships. We're community builders, right? So I think that's, but it's good to address it. We understand it's not for everybody, right? And helping people to find what is for them. I think that's where the negative
Yep.
connotation is, that so many communities or community buildings, when people think of it, they think of no one's trying to help me find a place for me. And so I think that's where the negative of this isn't for me, but what is for me. But if we help people find that place, everybody's happy. Everybody's happy
Oh,
at the lunch table. We love it.
and the beautiful thing about community is sovereignty, actually, is our individual needs are being met by ourselves and by the community. And when our individual needs are being met, then we can show up even greater for the needs of the community. And I think that's something, I think, is that is Audre Lorde, I think, has a really good quote about that. And it's escaping me now, but like basically talking about, oh, it's a self-care quote. Go Google it. I can't remember the exact words, and I'll
I'll
be
make sure it's
horrible
in the show
about it.
notes.
But put in a show note, because it's the term of self-help or self-care has actually really been distorted from what Audrey had originally intended. But it was the taking care of ourselves so that we can show up better for community. And I think that something is maybe people also forget. So we do have things in the catalyst where people can come up, like I said, do a one-to-one. You don't have to be, if it's too much, if the whole thing is just feeling like overwhelmed, or you're worried that somebody might come into a private room with me or come into a private room with Darcy or co-writing, and work it out there, and then bring it into the room and see how it works. Take care of yourself first. And I think if we're not focusing on the sovereignty that we have about having our own needs met, we will not be able to show up for community. So I think that's a really important point. Like, I think I love Greek life. I'm in Canada. We don't have it as much. We do have a few, but like it definitely didn't go where I went to school. And I think it's a really powerful way to create connection for your whole life that you've done. I love watching. I love watching every time you go on vacation. Like you're like, I'm with my sisters. I'm like, oh, and
And most of my vacations are soror
I
based.
know, and you call it, you're like, here's my soror. And I'm like, oh, I always like have a little ping, like, oh, I wish I had that way, like for my university life. It would have been great.
Yeah, but now you have the catalyst, and y'all
I
can
do.
vacation and do things because like a lot of stuff we do, and not to get too much into Greek life, but a lot of the stuff that we do is yes, it's a trip and a vacation, but it's really the business of our organization. Like we're getting together to meet, but we don't only meet. We have fun while we're there too, or we do other things, or you just get to know people. Like I've been in literally since I was in college, and so half my life has been with these women, and so they've been the people that were there when I was having my kid, or people who was there
Ah,
when I was getting married. Two of my sorority sisters were in my wedding, right? The people who were there throughout my life. So we're also naturally friends. It's not just because we're this organization. It's not you have to be friends, but we've actually become friends.
yeah.
We've just been together so much in our lives. And that's just how it grows. And we get new people and hey, come on, join the life, right? It's really almost like picking who you're having a life with because
Oh,
it's who you're having a life with.
that's a powerful phrase. It's picking who you're having a life with. That's what we look like in, in our communities too, right?
Mhm.
Pick who you're having a business with. If you think that you're running a business by yourself, like lonely businesses are not doing well, right? And even like if you think of like your local business, they thrive because they are in partnership with other businesses around them. When we started our pop-up company in 2012, one of the things that we worked with is businesses where they might have a closed door on either side of them. They're in a strip, a neighborhood strip, and they're trying to just keep their business going. And the two businesses beside them have closed. So we would come in and do a temporary pop up, bring a whole bunch of people to that community so that they could see this one store. Like we've got makers and crafters that we're showcasing. So it's a big event, but also the store beside us is just as crucial, or the restaurant or the coffee shop. Like come spend a day with it. But then we acted as like almost like commercial open house because we wanted people to come in and say, "Oh my God, this great space." They'd say, "What's happening with this space?" What I'm
Mhm.
like, right now it's empty. Here's some things. Here's some. Do you want a brochure? Are you running a business? And I would go in and talk to them about what would it be like, what kind of the foot traffic is, what kind of community. That's building those connections. And oh, great, the restaurant or the coffee shop next door would be a great way for you to start doing partnerships between your brand. We would then build up a economy in that neighborhood based on how the businesses would work together. And that's crucial. So we always said when one door closes, we're going to open it up again with a pop-up shop because we wanted to keep that economy going in there. If you're a lonely business, it's going to get hard out there. And really building that relationship and network of thriving business owners it's just like you and your sorority is who you're choosing to do business with for the rest of your business life.
I can't even tell you how much I love that. And I hope, pray, wish that I've got some commercial real estate folks listening right now. So
Yeah.
if you're a commercial real estate and you weren't listening to that last question, rewind, right? Because that's an ingenious idea. And it reminds
Yeah.
me that the local, we have, of course, everybody has chambers of commerce, right? And our local chambers of commerce, one of the things that they do, which I think is really nice, is that they do a lot of joint events with other chambers of commerce. Because
Mhm.
it's here, a lot of our towns are very close, like literally cross the street in another town.
Yeah.
And which means our counties are the same, like cross the street and you're in another county. So if Passaic County, Bergen County, and Essex County get together, and now they usually rent a hotel that has meeting space and stuff in one of these counties. Now that hotel is getting more visibility.
Yeah.
Now people around that hotel are getting more visibility, and the counties across all the businesses involved. So if you're in a chambers of commerce, you're in a community, just want you to know. And it's a really good thing. So My last question as we kind of wind down, I love this so much. Hopefully we've got everyone convinced that they need to find their good business community, join some place that's supportive, maybe join the catalyst that's supportive. This is exactly what I wanted to talk about, but I want to talk about the one last person who may feel like they got into a community, they're there, and now they're lost in the community. What
Right.
do you do, or how do you work with those who feel like they're lost in whatever community that they're in, especially in the catalyst?
We had somebody actually, it was not in the catalyst. I was talking about scaling one-to-one in a Facebook group, and this guy was just adamant. He's like, that's not coaching. I feel like, what you're doing is a group program. He said, I like to get really intimate with my clients and know everything about them. I'm like, I know, like, if you could see what I know about every Catalyst member, every bit of their business, I go deep. And that's part of that recognition that we are all sovereign people as a part of a community, and knowing, like, the greatest thing ever is knowing what somebody brings to the table. And I think a lot of these community groups, like, you join them, especially like the Facebook groups, but sometimes you join like a big, you know, ugh, this drives me nuts, but like those group programs where it's like the value is the Facebook group. In some cases it is. We joined B School absolutely 100%. She did not realize that nobody was there for her. Everybody was there for the community, which I think is the biggest mistake any business owner can realize. When you build a community that supports your business, you cultivate the heck out of it, because that is such a privilege. But you go in there and you feel like you're lost. Part of this, like, really own who you are, own what you bring to the table. And part of what we talk about is like knowing that role that you want to contribute and be in there. Find a community that needs what you have. And I think, don't be afraid to speak up and ask questions, and don't be afraid to find the smaller communities in a larger community that serve what you need. And I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned over the years, being in part of some of these big, huge coaching programs. I found like the 4 or 5 people who are the people I go back to, and I don't mind telling them when things suck, and they tell me when things suck. And we also celebrate when things are going really well. We celebrate and don't have to worry about the other person. Everyone's had that person where you try to celebrate and they're like trying to bring you down because they don't like their life. Don't hang around with those people. Find the people who want to celebrate you as much as you want to celebrate them. And if you're feeling like you're getting lost, either I hate saying this, but like, create your own community, create the community, invite people to your table that you want to do. We get a little fractionized. Sometimes we create all these little communities and we forget to reach out, but join several communities.
Mhm.
Really do get like, some of our Catalyst members, one of our members, her name is Darcy. She has a company called Sweet Tooth Creative. She's a writer, a copywriter. So she started off doing moderated co-writing sessions, and she still does them in our community. But she loved it so much that she created a co-writing for her business. Well, some of the Catalyst members are also customers of Darcy. They get co-writing with us in the Catalyst, but they want more. So then they go and they're a part of her community. And I think that's one of the greatest things. We have Veronica Jans, who's Business Laid Bare. Same thing. She's like, I love this done with you. I'm going to create it for my business. She does operations and systems. We do operations and systems too, but sometimes people want more. So now they've become members of also Veronica's community. And that's fantastic, because there's people in there that are not in the Catalyst. Now you're getting different perspectives. Now you're hearing different experiences. You're getting different insights. You're seeing how different companies do things that might work for you. And then you have that ability to try that on. So what I'll say is, if you feel like you're in a community right now and you're getting lost, there's a few things you can do to start speaking up. Be vocal. But I'll tell you something, if you get kicked out or you get reprimanded by the business owner, might not be the community for you. Do take to heart what they're saying, but like, also realize that some business owners are just not meant to be community cultivators. They're meant to be overlords, and we don't want to, we just, whatever, let them overlord, but it might not be for you. And then join multiple communities and experiment with small and big communities, because sometimes I'll say the smaller communities are actually better, because you do have the ability to have a voice, and your ability to have a voice in the way that works for you. That's the other thing, is sometimes we just feel like we have to be loud or controversial or put out these divisive messages just to get engagement on social media. Well, maybe that's not where your community is. Maybe you actually do find local business owners where you live, and you join a community there, and you start meeting for coffee, and you start to kind of really talk about what it's like. So experiment with different communities. If it doesn't feel good for you, just leave. It's not worth it. And even if you paid a lot of money and there's no refund on it, you know what? I'll just tell you, there's no point. We're just, like, I've joined programs where I could get a refund if I did all the content and submitted it. And I was like, my time is worth so much more than that.
Yeah,
This
you
is
can
just
keep
a
it.
write-off. Yeah, this is a write-off, and I'm just moving on with my life.
Yeah,
And be confident in making those decisions for yourselves. Like, don't be afraid to do that. Sometimes we spend money and it didn't work out well. Just, it's a write-off, move on, but don't make yourself try to fit into something that doesn't feel good.
I love that. So powerful. The power of leaving, right? That no one ever talks about. Everyone wants you to keep,
Good.
and sometimes it's because of their own personal things, but the power of walking away. I just did a video, around this election of sometimes you just gotta delete folks, but I'm gonna say the same thing about groups. And it doesn't make them bad groups or bad people. It just makes them not for you and your personal, experience is your responsibility. So I wouldn't clap too loudly in the mics, but
Yeah,
I
maybe that's your
absolutely
next book, is The
love that.
Power of Leaving. That's a good title you just came up with.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Definitely probably have a whole episode on that or something to make around that. But as we wrap it up and wind things down, usually I do a lightning round. We already had your
Yeah.
favorite quote, so we're gonna make sure that's
Yep.
in there.
Yep.
What's some of your favorite like books or tools? I know you talk about Go Brunch a lot. What is one of your favorite tools for business owners?
Yeah, I mean, Go Brunch, I do talk about a lot because it has been a way to kind of replace Zoom if you need it. You can have meetings, you can have connection, but it also is a really powerful business community that we get together and meet and hang out with. So I always talk about Go Brunch. I do have a special offer if anybody wants it at a really good price. Just send me a message and I'll give you my special price. But it's a great opportunity if you want to build a community that's more live and in the moment. It is definitely a tool. So I definitely will say that. I love SEO tools, and I know you have SEO Assist. Like, really lean into something like SEO Assist. Don't try to do it on your own. First of all, I got started in SEO because I was doing Google AdWords. That's where I learned how to actually go find what people are searching for. And I'll tell you something, I was in the deep end. I was like, what is even happening? And I had to do Google AdWords for 7 different kind of business lines. Like, they were very diverse: insurance, travel, membership. So like, I was all over the place learning how people are Googling and asking questions. So if you can get a tool like SEO Assist, absolutely, to help you build that content so that you're doing it right from the first time. You don't want to waste time. Don't do that. I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I love Claude. It's an AI, and we use it quite a bit in the cast and show people how to use it to really build. The reason why I love it is because you can actually build projects with your own ideas. So if you're a person that is an idea creator, you've got your phone and you're giving yourself voice notes all the time, or you're doing random notes on your phone or in Notion, and you want to start to actually bring it together into a cohesive project, Claude is great for that. You can grab all those things. I have voice recorder on my phone. Oh, Audio Pen is also really great for that. If you are a person that likes to, Audio Pen's a fantastic tool where you can just do a voice note and then it actually will create it. It'll transcribe it, but it also will create a blog post for you based on what it is. So it's a great tool. So you can then grab all those things, put it into a Claude project, and start to actually get some cohesive. And it only grabs from your ideas. So what you aren't getting is this amalgamation of the world and their ideas. You're actually allowing that tool to work on your ideas and grab your brain and help you to formulate that. So I love it. So those are my
I
top
love
ones.
doing really good tools. And I'm going to check out Audio Pin because we're working on some audio stuff for SEO Assist. Just going to put that out there. But I definitely want to, because I like that idea of, and I think that's where a lot of like things like SEO, like content creation kind of tools need to go, is I just want to say what I got to say and you turn it into what it needs to be online, because
That'd be phenomenal for
there is
SEO.
kind of that, not say disconnect,
Yeah.
but if you're an audio person, people are different people, right? And some people are writers. We get it. Some people are audible. Like although I do blogs and writing, I love doing podcasts and video more because I am more audible. So
Yeah.
some people are audible and some people are visual. So imagine tools that start bringing those things and helping you cross over from what you are to where you want your content to be. That's what we're doing.
Gosh, what a game changer that would be if you're like, I have this idea of something I want to put out in the world, and then you put it right into SEO Assist and it helps you create that content that is now searchable. Because the worst part of an idea creator is you put out the stuff and nobody ever sees it, right? The best part is when people get to see and experience it. But if they can't find it when they're searching for it, it's just crickets, right? So, whoa, that would be a game changer.
Yes,
Ooh.
working on it. But it
Oh,
also sounds like audio pen, which is why I'm gonna be checking it out and put that out there for everybody. Because I like having multiple tools. Although I own a tool, of course I want you to use my tool. There's other tools too, and they all have their, pros and cons, right? So I'm
yeah.
definitely gonna check that out. So one more question well, two more really. But who do you think we should have on the show next? And I'm really excited to hear your answer because I know you know a lot of great people. So let's
Oh
our
my
lightning
gosh.
lightning
Okay.
round.
Okay. 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 Have you had Famira Green on yet?
Famir and I did an interview that didn't make it out, and so we're gonna redo another
Okay,
interview for today's day. So yes, always on my
definitely,
list.
definitely Famira. Have you had Biba Ata on your show?
I don't even know if I know Bevo. Let me
Oh my gosh, you don't. Oh,
connect
you
us.
have to know Biba. Okay, so Biba, Biba Ata. Okay, so Biba has like two businesses. One is she actually helps businesses in transportation and locomotive specifically, but like get DBA status. And I know she's growing that in there too, which is great. But her other side is really personal evolution and leadership. And Biba is one of our like best, I mean, she's one of our founding members of the Catalyst, but she really helps people step into being powerful leaders and thought. So I think that would be really great for you. And she's just fantastic. She's just fantastic to interview. She's so lively. What are like, do you have areas that you haven't interviewed
No,
and you like
I
that's the
just
best
like to
thing?
know, and there's really one or two, so you don't have to stress. Like you don't have to give me a whole
Faith,
list.
Faith Clark. Oh my God. I'll keep telling you. Faith Clark is great. So she is inclusivity and belonging and is just fantastic. The stories that she has about organizations and how they can build inclusivity. And I know she would absolutely be fantastic too. Okay, those are my
I
three.
love that. Okay. I asked that question because one, I want my audience to hear about new and different people.
Yeah.
I know I don't know everyone. And B, yes, I do need more guests. So I'm always very open. I don't want to
Yeah.
steer it anyway. I just, who do you think is great? Okay. So now this is a real last question.
Yeah.
What question didn't I ask you that I should have asked you in this interview?
Okay. I think we should have talked a little bit about how to do SEO in like unconventional ways because I think people think of SEO as putting out blog posts all the time. And there are actually so many ways that you can do. Because I was telling you about
Hmm.
how we've actually been using SEO in very weird ways. I would say, like, just not conventional ways in niches that are not being served by certain SEO products. So I think you should have asked me about that.
What's share just one because I want to go to
Okay.
all of them, right? But share just one that you think is a good, like unconventional SEO strategy or way.
Using print on demand products to show up in Google Shopping above the traditional articles or videos. That's what we're doing a lot of right now. And it's been really interesting seeing who's coming and discovering the Catalyst because of our print on demand merch and print products.
And that's what I never even thought of because I usually keep, I have my e-commerce background too. So I usually keep that separate. I never thought of like making products really just for the purpose of, and
Yeah.
what is it, Printify and Printful
Yep.
are merging. So
Yes.
we might have to have a whole nother episode about that.
Yeah.
I
Because,
swear that's a
yeah.
really good idea. I love that. So thank you for sharing it and putting it out there for us so we can start playing with that as well. So thank you so much for coming on and interviewing and just, the whole conversation, even our pre-conversation. Y'all missed a whole amazing I even learned things about Canada I did not realize.
Yeah.
It is on my escape route plan because of, US, we might need one. But yes, I love this whole conversation and chatting with you. Let everyone know, we'll have the links and everything in the bio, but let everyone know where to find you and the best places to connect with you, please.
Yeah, the best ways to connect us is createtherules.com. We also have a YouTube channel that we're really focusing on in 2025 and building community there. So that's at Create the Rules. And then if you are interested in joining the Catalyst, it's createtherules.com/catalyst. We're always happy to be there. We have free public co-working sessions too. So if you just want to feel like you don't want to like you want a place to just come and show up and be around other people, we do those Wednesday afternoons from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern. And if you want the address, just let me know. It's also on our website.
Thank you so much. I know my audience is gonna drink all this up and love it and be probably in one of your sessions very soon. Look, I might be in your sessions very soon.
Yeah,
Right.
you should.
Talk to you later. Talk to you soon. And thank you guys for listening. I will see you guys in the next episode.